A light rain drifted across the military cemetery as rows of polished boots stood perfectly still, their silence heavier than any command ever shouted across a battlefield. At the very edge of the mourners sat one woman in a worn dress uniform, her medals catching only the faintest trace of gray daylight. No one stood beside her. Some whispered that she did not belong there anymore. Others avoided looking at her altogether. Yet she refused to leave the empty chair beside the flag-draped coffin, as though she were still waiting for one final order from the man everyone had come to bury. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Captain Emily Carter had once marched shoulder to shoulder with Colonel James Holloway through deserts filled with smoke and valleys where every sunrise carried the possibility of goodbye. Years earlier, one impossible mission had changed everything. A single decision had saved dozens of young soldiers, but it had also ended Emily's military career. Official reports called her reckless. Rumors called her disobedient. Only James knew the truth. He had ordered her to keep silent, promising that one day the truth would matter more than the medals they lost. She had believed him. She was wrong. At least, that was what she thought. As the funeral continued, the cold wind lifted the edge of the American flag resting on the coffin. The bugle faded into silence. Boots shifted softly against wet gravel. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled across the hills, and every heartbeat seemed louder than the last. Emily lowered her eyes, wondering whether loyalty had simply become another forgotten word. Then something unexpected happened. A young lieutenant stepped away from his formation and quietly approached the front. His hands trembled as he carried a sealed envelope marked with the colonel's personal insignia. Confused murmurs spread through the crowd. Military protocol left little room for surprises, especially at a funeral. The lieutenant handed the envelope to the commanding general. Inside was a handwritten letter. The general unfolded it slowly, his weathered hands noticeably unsteady. Every eye followed him as complete silence settled over the cemetery. My final request, he began, is that Captain Emily Carter be recognized not for the accusation history placed upon her, but for the lives history forgot she saved. The crowd froze. The letter continued, revealing the classified operation that had remained hidden for over a decade. Emily had willingly accepted disgrace because exposing the truth would have endangered undercover soldiers still serving overseas. She had carried the burden alone while others accepted promotions built upon her sacrifice. Gasps echoed through the mourners. Veterans lowered their heads. Some civilians quietly wiped away tears. The weight of misunderstood years suddenly became almost unbearable. Emily herself could barely breathe. She had spent countless nights wondering if doing the right thing had been the greatest mistake of her life. Now, standing before the coffin of the only man who had protected her honor, she realized he had been keeping one final promise. The general folded the letter carefully. Without speaking another word, he turned toward Emily and raised a slow, deliberate salute. For one suspended heartbeat, no one moved. Then another officer followed. Then another. Within seconds, hundreds of soldiers rose together as if moved by a single heartbeat. Boots struck the earth in perfect unity. White-gloved hands lifted sharply to their brows. The synchronized movement rolled across the cemetery like a powerful tide, transforming whispered doubt into overwhelming respect. No command had been given. None was needed. The applause never came. Something far stronger replaced it. Complete silence. A silence filled with gratitude, honor, and regret. Even the rain seemed to soften as tears streamed down faces hardened by years of service. Emily returned the salute with trembling fingers, not because she sought recognition, but because she finally understood that sacrifice is never measured by applause. Sometimes it waits patiently inside the hearts of those who remember. As the honor guard folded the flag and placed it gently into her hands, she looked once more toward the colonel's resting place. She had arrived believing she would say goodbye alone. Instead, she left carrying the respect of an entire army. Because true honor can be delayed, but it can never be erased. And just as the lonely soldier who entered beneath a gray sky walked away beneath clearing clouds, every silent wound finally found the light it had been waiting for. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable stories of courage, sacrifice, and hope. Because sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones history almost forgot, and the next story may stay with you long after the screen goes dark.